Jose here. I'm the industrial designer. I used to work with Trello a lot, which is very similar to the card setup in Jira, but nothing with the automation portion. So,
Okay, hey Jose.
Hi, Mansu. It's Arjun here. I am technical support for service technician, and I haven't used Jira before.
Okay, hi.
Hi, Manshu. This is Neha here. I'm the purchasing and supply chain manager, and I haven't used this before. Sorry.
Okay, hello Neha, no worries. All right, so let's kickstart this thing. So I'll share my screen now. I hope you guys can see it. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Okay, so agile, like as the name suggests, you know, it already comes with the name itself that it is more flexible and more efficient, like more quicker thing. Like when something is more quicker, we can call it as agile. Similarly, in our delivery cycle as well, agile is one of the project management, or is one of the software development, or even any development tool, we can say. Earlier we used to use like waterfall models, or like old V models in the development cycle, where we used to gather the requirements and then start building up, doing the development, then doing some testing, quality checks and all. And it used to take a lot of time, and IT and this robotics, AI, these industries are moving very fast these days. So agile helps us to catch with that speed, and if we use agile project management or agile way of delivery, then we can always stay ahead in the market. So there are few principles and key pillars in agile which are there for the best use of agile. So I'll be going through all those pillars and principles with you in the next slides. But the reason why everyone is moving on agile is it gives you flexibility to deliver quicker, and it gives you flexibility to learn and quickly continuous improving things also, because there is like huge competition in market these days. So we should always be ahead of the race, right? So if I give you a quick history about agile, so agile actually started 20 years ago. When people, although we have started listening or hearing about agile like maybe 3, 4, 5 years ago only, but it is a 20 years old concept where the old project managers who started it, they used to think that the requirements are coming, and when they are delivering something, and when the customer is getting something, probably the market has changed, or whatever the development company or developers have created or developed, that is of no use for them, or that is not closure what they thought inside their head, right? So to remove those kind of problems, this agile based software development or agile based product development was introduced. So when I call it product, it can include anything, whether it is a web app, whether it is a mobile app, whether it is a robot, whether it is a car itself. So car for them, like the manufacturing companies, is also a product for them, right? So most of you or some of you would have heard about lean practices which Toyota introduced, and those are also bit aligned with agile. And the main idea is to be more efficient in the delivery process and to remove all the waste, as well as to be more flexible with the requirements and give your best in your delivery process, right? So in agile, there are 4 principles in the Agile Manifesto. So the first principle is like individuals and interactions over processes. So which means that we should focus more on the interaction part, like knowledge sharing or the communication bit. So when a team is working, for example, you are working in Canada, There is a team working in India. So even in Canada itself, sometimes what happens is we keep working in our own heads, right? Because we come from different backgrounds. And as I see, you guys are also from different technology domain. Someone is from electronics, someone is from industry design, someone is from maybe HR. So what happened is like we all think as per our old experiences, and on the basis of that we create perceptions and all. So the problem with that, what happened is that everyone, whenever we are working on any product, we keep developing or we keep perceiving it with our own vision, right? So to remove that problem, this agile says that the communication is the best and the most core pillar of it, or the interaction, which means that when you are doing some work in agile, you should be interacting more. And there are tools for the interaction, such as Jira. Jira gives you a clear picture what you are working on, what your team members are working on, and what your overall target is. So earlier in past, we used to have other tools, project management tools and all, which generally had access only to the project managers, right? But Jira is a tool which is accessible to all, whether it is a junior team member or whether it is a project manager or whether it is the CEO, CTO, or whosoever. So everyone can see what is there. Everyone can have a transparency of the work. Everyone can see the projection that where your future product is going. So that is the main part, that you should have clear interactions, and the focus is more on the individuals, that who is doing what, right? The second is like working software or over comprehensive documentation. So working software, or you can call it as a working component, or you can call it as a working product itself, right? So which means that earlier in the old development cycles or old type of development processes, we used to have more documents, like requirement gathering was one of the stage we used to have. But what Agile says, to keep things simple, like there is a concept called KISS, like keep it simple, silly. Okay. So similarly, in Agile as well, there are documents, but documents are in the form of stories in the Jira. And then your bulky documents are definitely not there. So all your implemented software itself can be treated as a, Bible for you. So, and how that can happen is, I'll show it to you in the later slides. And but on a high level, I can tell you that all your stories should be a working software itself, or should be a working component itself, right? So that whenever you are slicing your stories or your epics, there are different issue types in Jira or Scrum. So you can slice it in such a way that whenever you are delivering something or whenever you are closing something, you are getting some value out of it. Okay. The third is like customer collaboration over contract negotiation. So this means that your customer or your end user should always be linked with it. Generally in a Scrum kind of projects, there are different actors in it, like roles. For example, product owner is one of them, who is the main product manager or the product person who knows in and out what he wants from the product. Then you have business analysts who gather the requirement and help the technical team to understand it, because product owner generally comes from more of a business standpoint domain, and your business analysts have both of the knowledge, like some technical as well as some business knowledge, and they help to share the information or the requirement with the technical team. So we should focus more on the customer as well, that what customer actually wants, and if there is any update needed, we should always make those updates in upcoming sprints or in upcoming stories. Then the fourth is responding to change over following plan. So this means that because the market is shifting or running so fast, right? So if there is any change which is good for the project or your product, we should always be ready to accept that change. And we can plan it instead of having the old plans that, okay, in the beginning of year, we planned that we will be delivering this thing. We should not stick to that, because market is changing. So we should also change with market and the requirement. Always be ready for the change. That's why the Scrum thing is always 2 weeks of time, which is also one of our framework or a way of running your agile projects. I'll go through that as well here. The next is the principles. There are overall 10 principles. It's a bulky list. I'll share this deck with you as well so that you can go through it. But on a high level, the main principles are like you should always be ready for the continuous improvements. You should always use best architects, and your business people and developers should always be collaborating with each other. There should be interactions in the project. Then the highest priority and satisfy the customer needs. So we should always strive to give the best in the product as per the customer need and not as per what we want, right? Because if you are building any product, whether any software or a robot, if that is of no use of a customer, probably they will not buy it in the market, right? So you should always consider what is needed by a customer. If there is any customizations needed, we should always work on those and create stories or requirements or epics depending upon the task. Yeah. So you can go through this 12 list when I share the deck with you. But on a high level, the core is that flexibility and always be ready for the continuous improvement. Yeah. The next thing is the benefit of Agile. So as I said, like continuous customer contact. So generally in the old school of like software development or product development, when we used to do, the customer used to see the product only when things were ready in the past, right? So it used to take at least 6 months or a year to get things ready. And after a year, when the customer used to see the product, generally the reactions were, okay, this is good, but I was expecting something else, right? So instead of waiting for a 1 year of time, Agile gives you a benefit that your customer or your product owner, they are very much linked with your product. This gives a benefit to the development team as well, so that they are also getting continuous feedbacks and they are moving in the right direction. And not after 6 months, nobody can point a finger on you that you developed something wrong as a company, right? So your client should always be involved in it, and you should do weekly or monthly catch-ups with them as a demo, not a meeting. Meeting you can do every day, but as a demo, you can show them what is the progress, how things are moving. If they want any change, you can adopt that. So that is one of the best benefit of Agile. Then the second is the ability to adapt. So as we see, a lot of new technologies are coming. Someday, every day, I would say, a new language is introduced in the market. Python, Go is another language, and every company is introducing new language, which has different benefits. For example, if you used to do something in C++ or Java in past, today you can do the same thing with Python more quicker and more faster. So if you have any technology, you should always be ready to adapt new things in your projects, whatever is beneficial for your product. Third is faster delivery. So because you are not dependent on complete requirement gathering first and then development of 3 months and then testing of 2 months and all, so you are delivering quicker in the market. So whenever your small component is ready, you can deliver it to market. So if there is a prototype which you are building, you can deliver that as well with a asterisk on it that this is a prototype, but you are working on the product. So this gives a confidence to your client as well that, okay, things are moving ahead, right? Then the fourth point is lower project risk. So as I said, like if you are delivering something on the after a year, so there's a possibility that your client might say that, okay, this is not something which I was looking for. So there's less project risk as well when you are adopting agile technologies, agile methodologies. Then the last one is ongoing innovation. So as I already discussed, like new technologies are coming, so you can always embed those new technologies, new concepts in your product whenever you are doing agile. However, if you go for a old school of development thing or your product, then in that case, whatever you sign off in the beginning that we are going to use Python 3.0, then you will always use Python. So, but if in future Python 4 version is there, then you might not be using that, right? Because you signed off something in the beginning. So similarly, these are the main benefits or key benefits which Agile provides, and this is why we should follow it. The next is the Agile frameworks. So although there are 4 frameworks which supports Agile, like Scrum, Kanban, Extreme Programming, and DSDM, but in this session we will be only discussing Scrum and Kanban. Main focus will be on Scrum because I I personally like it, and we have seen benefits of it, as well as it is well known in market, and most of the big giants are using it, Google, etc. Even if they are working on their artificial robotic projects or ML AI projects, they are using these technologies. So there is no hard and fast rule that Agile or Scrum can only be used in a software kind of company. So you can use these in any type of domain or any type of company. So moving to the Scrum. So Scrum is a framework for project management that emphasizes more on the teamwork, accountability, and iterative progressiveness. So which means that overall team is there. Everyone should be involved in a Scrum, whether it is your developer, whether it is your QA, whether it is your electronics engineer or your robotic engineer. Everyone should be involved in a Scrum. They should be knowing what is happening in the Scrum or in your sprint, and then everyone should work for a specific goal for that sprint. It should not be like that, okay, that I'm a electronics developer and or I'm a robotic developer and I will only develop this part. There is no use of working in the silos, because at the end your integration should always work. Only then your product is said to be successful, right? So there are 4 bits in it: plan, do, measure, and adapt. So plan is like when you do your sprint plannings. So sprint planning is one of the ceremony which happen is in a Scrum, where you do some plannings and where you define what you actually want to do in your sprint. So sprint is, as the name suggests as well. So sprint is, I would say, a time span in which you define what you want to build. Generally, it is of 2 weeks of time, and some companies make it for 4 weeks as well. So depending upon your need, depending upon your product delivery cycle, you can either choose 2 weeks or 4 weeks of sprint time. So you plan for a sprint, which means you are planning for a specific week or a month, and then you do things, which means you start implementing, in which you do your stand-ups. So stand-ups are similar to quick meetings, but not lengthy meetings. Like stand-ups are mostly mostly around 15 minutes in the morning, where you discuss what are your blockers, what you're working on, and how do you see the progress happening. So that's it. Like these 3 points you need to discuss. You don't want to give a end-to-end update of your work. If there is any dependency, you can highlight that, and if someone can help you with that in your team, you can ask for a help in the Scrum meeting or your stand-up meeting. Then the third is your measure, which is the review part. So whenever you are done with your sprint, which is, if for example 2 weeks of sprint, so at the end of your sprint, you should always get reviews and demos done with your client or your customer or your technical leads, so that they are also getting a flavor of what exactly is coming out of your sprint and whether you are meeting the goals or not. And then the last part is retrospective. So retrospective is also one of the ceremony in Scrum, which helps you to improve and adapt as well. So if you feel that in the last 2 weeks or 4 weeks of time of your sprint, if you feel there was something which did not work well, if there are any issues which were coming, or if there is something which can be improved, you can always discuss those things in the retrospective. And if you retrospective is not only for your highlighting the issues. If there is something which you feel is working well, then you can highlight that as well, so that the team can continue working on that and you are in the same pace as well. Okay. Next slide. Any questions so far?
Sound good?
No.
So the next slide is the Scrum. So as I mentioned, that Scrum has sprints. Then we have stand-ups. So sprint is like 2 weeks to 4 weeks of time, which you define as a time for your execution. Then you have your stand-ups. So stand-up is something which you use for your daily quick updates, maximum 15 minutes, or if needed, if you have a big team, you can make it up to half an hour. But as I can see, you have a small team, so you can go with 15 minutes as well. So the third is your sprint planning. So sprint planning generally happens before the sprint start. And it is highly suggested that sprint should start on Wednesday, because generally in the mid-week, people are more energetic instead of Mondays. Because on Mondays, most of the people come from the weekend and they are not in that proper mindset that, they can start something quicker on Monday. So Wednesday is the good time to start a sprint. So you should do your sprint planning before the sprint start, ahead of the sprint. And then your backlog refinement. So backlog refinement is also an activity in Scrum, in which what you do is you refine or you define your future sprint work. So the benefit of backlog refinement is that you never are waiting for requirements to be defined or given to you. So the team itself is always ready, and they can see the vision that what is coming in the next sprints. So you should always have a backlog for upcoming 3 sprints. The benefit of that is that your team will also get a flavor that what is going to happen in upcoming sprint, what things they are going to work. And if they have any questions, they can put their questions in the Jira, or they can ask their requirement related queries with the technical leads. So with this thing, we are removing waste if we are doing a backlog refinement for up to next 3 sprints, and the team never sit idle for requirements or information to be coming. So that is something which we should follow for at least next 3 sprints. Then the next thing is sprint reviews, which is where you give your demo and you show whatever you have worked on to your client or to your technical leads. It should always be something running. So you should never show some documents or some requirement things in the review sessions. You should always strive to show something running so that people can also get confidence that things are working now. Then the second last is Scrum retrospective, where you can share your like points that what went well, what went wrong in the last sprint, and how we can do the improvements. So these links which I have shared in this slide, like Fun Retro and the Scrum Poker, you can use these tools. These are free to use, and you can start using it, and it will be helpful for you. So these are somewhat similar to Trello, especially the planning part, the sprint planning link, which I've shared here. Then the last one is the Scrum of Scrum. So when you have multiple teams, you can do Scrums for your technical lead as well, if you want. Moving to the next one is the Kanban. So although Kanban is also one of the tool or framework which we can use, but how it is different is that in Kanban, you have a ticket board, a Kanban board, which we call, and over there you put all your tickets which needs to be picked, and your team picks it based on their availability and their skill set. So it is also similar to Scrum, but there is no specific timeline defined in Kanban. So your tickets can keep moving, but there is no like monthly target. There is not clear monthly target in Kanban. So Scrum gives you that option where you can have a clear monthly target, or where you can have a clear quarterly target, or your sprint target if you are keeping it to the 2-week sprint. So sprint is more like gives more output as compared to Kanban. However, in some of the support kind of projects as well, Kanban is more useful, where if there is, for example, your product is already live and you are getting incident from the market, or incident means like if you're getting issues from your customer. So if you build an app or if you build something, a component, and you have delivered it to your client. So if they are facing issues, there is a ticket, right? Just like when you face some problem in your internet connection and also you raise tickets. So all those things goes into incidents. And in those kind of thing, what happen is that whosoever is available at that time in their engineering pool, that engineer picks that ticket and start working on your issue, right? So on those kind of support projects, we can use Kanban. But in the delivery project where we are developing something, where we are building something new, Scrum is the more better option to go. Okay, so next is the Agile tools. So there are 2 tools which helps you to adopt Agile very efficiently. One is the Jira and other is Confluence. So I guess at least you all would have seen Jira so far, and you might be using a little bit of it. But on a high level, like these are the main activities which can be used in Jira for a Scrum. So what happened in Jira is you create a Scrum project. Then this is a flow of using Jira for a Scrum, right? Might be like some of the items would have already been implemented in your project, But if not, you can always go with these 12 steps. So first is, if you want to follow Scrum, if you want to follow Agile, and if you want to do it with Jira, you can start with these 12 steps, which is create a Scrum project, create user story or a task, create a sprint, which is 2-week sprint, then hold the sprint planning meeting, which is which happens before the sprint starts. Then fifth is the start the sprint, then hold the meeting stand-ups, which happens every day morning, like 9 o'clock, whenever you start your work. Then view the burn down chart. It can also be seen in the Jira that how your team is progressing, whatever work you decided, whether you are able to work or do it or not. Then eighth is your view the sprint reports, which can be seen once your sprint is closed. Then hold a sprint review meeting, which happens once the sprint is done and you do a sprint review or sprint demos. Then hold the sprint retrospective. So in retrospective, as I said, you can share your views of the overall last 2 weeks, and you can decide what should be done, what went well, what went wrong, and all. Then the 11th is complete the sprint in Jira. So once your sprint is done, you can complete the sprint as well. I'll show it to you how it can be practically done in Jira in next few minutes, right? And then these are some of the advanced items. So using epics in your backlog. So epic is also one of the issue type or one of your ticket in Jira. You can use epic as well. Customize your workflows. A workflow means like when you start a ticket, it first go into like in development process or status, then it can go into testing status, then it can go into done status and all. So you can always update those workflows. Then your velocity chart, which means that how your team is delivering, that is the velocity chart for each sprint. Then the 15th one is like using wall boards. So wall boards is, yeah, definitely it is a good thing to use. So always use whiteboards. And what you can do is you can always to give a clear picture to everyone in the team, what you can do is you can start a stand-up and you can use a whiteboard where you can use some stickies, and whatever work you are working on, you can paste your 15-day work in those stickies. And you can always create like 3 different categories in it, that one should be like in development or in progress, second should be on hold, and third should be done. So if you're working on something in a sprint, you should have those tasks or stories on that whiteboard, and then you can put your name as well on that stuff, so that whatever you are working on, your team is also aware what actually you're working, right? And then with your progress, you can keep moving it to the right side, and whenever you are done with it, you can put that sticky on the done part. And if you pick something new, you can always move it into the in progress column. So there could be 3 columns, like not started, in progress, blocked, and done. So these could be actually the 4 the sections which you can start it with. You can draw this even on a glass, on a wall, or a whiteboard, wherever you want, and you can paste these stickies on it. And every sprint you can follow it. And if there is something which is not done in that sprint, you can always spill it to the next sprint. But whatever is done, you can have a clear picture what work you have done in that on the daily basis. Yeah. Then this is a Jira board. So probably everyone would have seen it. I'll go it in practical as well now. And these are the Jira flows, open, in progress. So these are the different statuses of a Jira ticket. This is one of the Jira advanced options for the Jira workflow, where you can see that first of all, whenever a ticket is opened, it goes into open state. Then it can go into in analysis state, which means that you are doing some requirement analysis. Then it is gone into a DOR state. So DOR and DOD are the key states, which means that definition of ready and definition of done. So whenever you think, whenever your team thinks that something is ready to start, then you can put the status as a definition of ready. And whenever you feel it can be picked, then you can start the development, whether it is a software related development or whether it is a mechanical or electronics related development. So you can keep going on with it. You can always keep updating your statuses as well. So if for example, you face any problem while your development, you can change it to like blocked status, so that team is aware, and whosoever is your technical lead or whosoever is your like business analyst or product owner, they are aware that you are blocked because of it. and they need to do something to help you to unblock you. Then the code reviews, although code review is more close towards your software related things, but instead of code review, if you are building something related to mechanics or electronics, then you can always change it as a normal review, right? Where you are showing your code or you're showing your product to a technical lead. And then you can do some testing as well. Once a first level of review is done, then you can do some testing. However, you can swap it. These two, you can switch these one. Code review and testing can be happened, like any of them can be happened just after development. So once your development is done, which means your product is developed, then you can do testing first. And then once your testing is also done, then you can go for a review. And if you want the next level of testing, like beta testing or anything with a client testing, then you can again create a status as a client testing here. So this is overall workflow which you may follow in your project, and this will help you to give at least clear picture about a story or a task, that where it currently stands. Then the Confluence. So Confluence is also one of the toolkit which comes with this Atlassian. So Atlassian is the company which provides Jira as well as Confluence. So Confluence is I would say, a document space which provides you an option to keep all your requirements or all your like minutes of meetings or your story specific information, your future projection, your project information, everything. You can keep it here. So this is also one of the tools which you may try. And it is very simple to use. These are like blank pages, just like Google Docs if you have used. So here you can save it. You can create a complete tree structure of your documents, where you have a hierarchy that what documents are related to business, what documents are related to technical details, what documents are related to some of the market analysis, etc. So you can always manage that in Confluence. All right. So next thing which I would like to show you is this something practical or some running things. So I'll go to Jira now. So this is a Jira board. This is a Jira, and here what we can see is it can have multiple sections in it. So this is my project which I created just now as a dummy project. So something similar you might have seen in your project. So here what you can see is like a roadmap is coming, backlog is coming, and board is coming, right? And then reports, issues, release, and etc. The roadmap gives you a picture that how your overall like 6 month or a quarter or a year roadmap looks like. For example, this particular is an epic. So epic is generally bigger than your stories. So there could be multiple stories in an epic. So epic is a big requirement, we can say. So here it shows that I have an epic, and it gives me a timeline as well, that this epic was started in August, and I have given a timeline for like up to September. So there is no due date I have given, but I can always give that due date as well. So this helps you to define a goal for yourself, and what you can do is you can create an epic, and in that epic you can create different stories instead of just creating random stories. So the benefit this gives is that it always helps you link your goal with a specific work which you're doing. So your epic could be, for example, if you're working on a mobile app, your epic can be a mobile app development, right? And then that mobile app development can have different stories, which could be like login functionality, your payment functionality, or your UI part. Those can be your different stories in it. If you're working on any robotics specific component, then you would be having some MATLAB or some other type of implementations. You can always create different stories around those, that you have to write some code around MATLAB and etc. Those can be your stories, but your epic in that case would be to develop a moving robot or something like that, right? And the benefit will be like it will give you as well as to your project managers a whole roadmap view, that where you are working on, and once your all stories are done, then you can close the epic. Otherwise what happens is, if everyone is working on different stories and stories are not related in case, then your complete product is never delivered. So you always keep working in different direction, and finally you end up delivering something with some missing parts. So with this approach, you can always link your stories with an epic, and epic can be your big requirement or your main requirement, I must say. And there could be multiple epics as well. So if one epic could be mobile app development, second epic could be some MATLAB specific implementation, third could be something else. Then your backlog.
Himanshu, can you just touch upon connecting epics with releases?
Yeah, sure. So what you can do is if you go into any epic, for example, so what you can do is you can always create a new release. So once you create a new release, let's say release 1, and you give a start date as today, and the release finish date should always be given. So if you give a 1 month release, let's say today is 25th, and if we sorry, and if you give a release as this one for a 1 month release, so if you want to go for a monthly or quarterly release, so you can always create this release as a release 1. And once this release is created, you can always link that release with the epic. So you can now go to your epics, and here you can, so this fixed version which is coming here, you can link it with the release 1. So all the releases comes with this fixed version. So if you can see, this is coming as a fixed version as a release 1. And in your epics or in your stories as well, what you can do is you can always put this here. So now it is coming here, right? So when I refreshed it, so I can link it with my release. So what will happen right now is that this particular epic will be tagged with the release, and all the subsequent stories as well can also be tagged with the release here. So fixed version is coming here. So I can tag this as well. So this is here. So I tag this story as well, or a task or defect, whatever you have. So you can have multiple issue types. For example, these are different issue types. You can add more issue types as well. So you can tag those issue types with the release. Once I have tagged it with the release, what benefit it will give me is that if I go back to my project, so first of all, it will be showing me as an unreleased that this thing has not gone to market. The status can be updated for this release as per the development status. And it will show me what all things are included in this release. For example, it shows me that there are 2 items which are related to this release. So you cannot, and you can also see the status as well. So of these items. So for example, if this particular item is coming as the status the status is here as a to do, right? So it means that it has not been implemented. So if you have different issue types or these stories in a release, you will get a flavor of it, that whether you are ready to work on this release or not. So if you have defined something for month 1, and if you have releases based on monthly releases, you can always tag it with these stories. And at the time of decision making, whether you are going live or whether you are delivering on production or not, or to the client or not, you can always check this, that whatever was scoped for release 1, whether that is closed or not. So you can always use filters to find out what is the current status of those particular tickets. For example, if this is one of the, so currently this was showing me all the items which are in release 1. If I want to see and so this is currently showing me all the items in the project. Currently I see 3 items, but out of those 3 items, only 2 were related to release 1. So that gives a picture that what items are supposed to be done for release 1. So yeah, that's how you can manage it. Any questions?
No.
Okay. So this way you can define your targets. You can define your work as well. That what exactly you want to work in a release. If, for example, one of the benefit it gives is that if for example you are expecting something to be delivered in a release 2, but there is a prerequisite to be done before that. So you will get a clarity of that as well. That to get something done in release 2, you need an X dependency to be resolved first. So you can always define your stories for a specific release based on the prerequisites or dependencies. And you will not get a last moment shock with a story or requirement that, okay, this is a dependency and we can't do it. So with this one, you can always like manage your stuff and your tasks. So the next thing is like issue types. So it is always suggested to use different issue types so that your work can be segregated, which means if you are working on any story, so story is something which is a specific feature, I would say. That if you are building a specific feature, you should use story. If you are doing some task, like in a specific story, you can have multiple tasks. For example, if you are building a mobile app, you can have multiple tasks on it that you need to write code in it. You need to get that code reviewed. You need to like download something on your laptop, like just a generic thing which I'm telling. But you can add multiple tasks. So if there is any security approval needed for your project, you can have those kind of tasks in it. So those kind of things can be treated as tasks. Then epic is also one of the issue type. You can create epic. Then there can be technical spike as well. So technical spike are generally those tickets which are done to prove something. So if, for example, you are picking up a story which is of a 5 days work, but you are not sure that can be the right approach to do it or not. So in that case, instead of wasting 5 days, it is suggested to do a technical spike of 2 hours or 4 hours and do a analysis kind of thing first. And if you feel that spike passed, only then pick that story to identify what approach you are going to use. So those kind of work where you in which you are not aware what should be done or what approach should be chosen, you can always create tasks. You can always create technical spikes for it. So the benefit of doing creating different types of issues here. So it comes as an issue type. However, it is not actually an issue. It is the language they call in Jira. So the benefit of using different issue type is you can always then segregate the type of work you are doing. For example, if you're doing more of technical spikes or versus if you are actually implementing something or you are getting bugs. So if you are getting some requirement specific defect, if you are getting some technical issues, or if you are getting something, if your functionality is not working fine, you can always use this issue type bug there. Similarly, there can be more issue types as well. So you can always add these issue types by configuring the Jira, and that's pretty easy. You can just go here and select configure. Whosoever has the admin access, we can do it. And you can always add different fields in your Jira. For example, here currently the issue types are coming as this. So if I want to add another issue type, so I can always add, let's name it as a demo. So if you're working on demos, you can create a new issue type as a demo. If you're working on, for example, live defects. So generally what happens is like sometimes we get defects or bugs when we are working on it. On a functionality, and sometimes we get defects when the thing is gone live. So we can always use another issue type, which could be live defect, which is when you actually given that particular robot or functionality or mobile app to the customer, and then you started getting issues. So now you can see a live defect issue type is also here. And if I will go here and if I will try to create a new a new task or a new story or a new item, then now I see a live defect item as well. So with this one, we get a clear segregation that what kind of work it is, whether it is related to a requirement or whether it is related to some issue or it is some technical spike. So that's how all it is. Then finally you can get some reporting as well. So you can configure your reports, your velocity reports, your sprint burn down charts. So however, I don't have much backlog here right now, but we can configure this as well. And I can show one of my project where we do have I think I closed that. Okay, so I guess I closed my browsers with my work. But yeah, so you can always get those reports here as well. So you can configure that, and whenever you have a clear sprint started, then you will automatically get these reports. So this is the velocity report. So whenever you have a sprint started for it, you will get some of these report configured automatically. However, there are some which you can configure based on your needs. The next thing is your so your backlog as well. So if you want to see what complete items you have, like what overall items you have, so you can always go and see in the backlog. So this is the backlog. So this backlog should be ready always for next 3 sprints, as I said. And this one gives you a picture that whether your like what are your next items which you want to go and pick. So you can always create a sprint here. So let's create a sprint. So this is the sprint 1. You can create another sprint. So this is your sprint 2. So what you can do is, this is the backlog. Backlog means you have not started working on it. This is your vision you want to go, right? This is your items you want to pick. So based on your based on your needs, you can always put these ones either in sprint 1 or in sprint 2, for example here. So as I now put one in sprint 1, one in sprint 2. So this will give my developers a clarity that what they are going to work on in sprint 1 or sprint 2. And the developer's responsibility would be that they can go into these stories, and they can check what are they gonna pick in upcoming days or sprints. And if they have any queries or any questions, they can just go into these particular tickets, and they can put their comments in it. So that's how it all works. So for example, this is the ticket I go, and here I can always comment, put comments here. And if there are any queries, I can always put in this Jira ticket. Okay, so that's all from my side on this agile things and Jira. Now I will give last 5 minutes for the questions if you have.
Are we getting a copy of the presentation?
Yeah, sure.
It's being recorded. I'll share it over after the call.
Also, like these are more like technical questions about Jira. For example, in our current project, I don't know if I'm able to share the screen.
Yeah, you can.
Okay, let me jump in the. So right now we have this project right here. We created this board. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we created a whole bunch of tasks already. But when I go to the roadmap, I can see just this one here, which I just created. So I guess in order for my task to appear in here, I would have to change the issue type.
Yeah, so this is happening because you have only one epic, and your epic is not linked with the task which you have created. So in this case, you will need to link your task with that particular epic. So what you can do is, if you can please open one of the tasks, just open in a new tab.
Okay. So this one opens like this.
No, it can open. Now you can click on that hotbot 33, and it will open in a new tab.
Okay.
Yeah, and now what you can do is you can always click on that hotbot. So there is a tick box coming there, blue tick box. You can click there. Yeah, and you can change it to any other issue type. So if you want to change it to like bug or story, you can always change it. That is also one of the way. And then you can link it with your specific epic if you want. So
Okay. And how do I? Okay.
so this is the link issue, right? Yeah. So you click here, and you can link it with your epic. However, there is another way of linking it. So do you know the ID of your epic?
So it's called internal structure.
Okay, so click on this internal structure. And it will also open, yeah, now click on this hotbot 58. So this is your epic, which you have created, right? So if you again scroll over the purple icon next to hotbot, you will see this is an epic, right? So this is the only issue type which is epic in your overall backlog. And if you see now in the linked issues, so there is one issue linked in it, and there is one child issue. So you can add more child issues, or you can add more, you can link more issues here. So if you will add, click on the plus item, and you can, instead of blocked. So first of all, I think in the first as well, you have used wrong item as a block. I don't know if that is really a block related issue type or not, but you can select other issues type as well. So is blocked by, so you can, instead of change using is blocked by, you can also use something like relates to. You can use relates to, and here you